Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, we will be previewing Game Week 13. As always, I ask for your questions, discussion points, and dilemmas over on Twitter at FPL__Raptor and on the YouTube community feature. So make sure to subscribe so you get notified when I ask for those questions. There's so much to cover in today's video, as there always is. So without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So guys, before we jump into today's video, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to the legends over at OneFootball for agreeing to sponsor the videos on this channel for the foreseeable future. If you're new to this channel and you don't know who OneFootball are, they are the best free football app on the market. They have every single thing you need in one place. If you can look at the screen recording on your screen right now, you've got table, you've got home form and away form. There's transfer news, injury news, press conference updates, you name it, they have it. And in actual fact, what we're going to do in the next section is we're going to use a really useful feature, which I promise will be useful over the over the Christmas period, apologies. But if you would like to download OneFootball for free, you can click the link in the description for free or scan the QR code, download OneFootball, and it massively helps support the channel as well. Let's take a look at that feature that I think is very useful over the coming months. So this isn't a question that was asked, but it's something that I really want to draw your attention to over the coming weeks and months, because I want you guys to do as well as possible. I would love if someone that watches my videos was to win FPL, and I really hope it is one of you guys. So I want to help you make the best decisions possible. And something which we really should be paying attention to is the state of play with respect to yellow cards. As we come to the back end of the first half of the season, there are a lot of players on 2, 3, 4, potentially even 5 and 6 already yellow cards. Now remember, when a player gets 5 yellow cards, they are suspended for 1 match. So all of those players that are on 4 yellow cards are a walking suspension, really. 1 yellow card, and then they're done for 1 game. Now, I think it's even more important if you're looking to bring in a player short term, because if you're looking to only bring them in for 2 or 3 games and they're suspended for 1 of them, that can be a real issue. So there are certain players that are on 4 yellow cards, but I would also take a look in your own time at players that are on 3 yellow cards as well, because 1 more yellow card and then they're in the same situation themselves as well. So I've just put a little star. This is screenshotted from the OneFootball app. So this has come straight from my app on my phone from OneFootball. And I've just put a little star next to those players that have 4 yellow cards at the time of recording and are therefore 1 yellow card away from a suspension. So you've got the 2 budget midfielders of choice really at the moment, which is Josh Brownhill and Matthias Norman. They're both on 4 yellow cards. I don't suppose you'd be looking to bring either of them in, but if you do have a really weak bench and you're relying on Brownhill or Norman over the coming weeks, just realise that there is a chance over the next 3 or 4 weeks that they could potentially be suspended if they pick up another yellow card. There are also 2 centre-backs on this list that I know are fairly highly owned, and that is Shane Duffy and Aymeric Laporte. Both of those are on 4 yellow cards. So once again, if you have them in your team, just make sure that you've got the cover and just make sure that you've got it in the back of your mind that they are there. If, for example, you are looking to bring in a budget defender, you might want to avoid Shane Duffy. I don't know if this is enough to make you want to avoid a player, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. The reason this cropped up and the reason that it came into my thinking was that Callum Wilson is currently on 4 yellow cards. Now, he has Norwich and Burnley coming up after the Arsenal match. So I know a lot of people are looking to bring him in. Obviously, if he doesn't get booked against Arsenal, but he gets booked in the next one, he could miss one of those 2 games. Or if he gets booked against Arsenal, then he obviously has the opportunity to miss one of the next 2 games anyway. So for me, it's probably a don't buy, don't sell, or you just hope that he doesn't pick up a 5th yellow card. But the fact that he's got 4 yellow cards already would suggest that he definitely has a tendency to pick up bookings, Callum Wilson. So I would just keep an eye on that. Again, it might be that he scores 3 hat-tricks on the bounce, doesn't get booked, and you're thinking, why didn't I just bring him in? So I'm not necessarily saying you should let this affect your decision-making too much, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, not only this week, but for future weeks as well. And if you do want to check this yourself, you can do so by heading over to the OneFootball app, and you can do that by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. So this is one of those unfortunate ones as a content creator that I know no matter when I decide to record this, whatever I decide to do, as soon as it goes live or just before it goes live, there's going to be a change, there's going to be an update, and I'm going to be sat here trying to work out if I have to re-record or whatever it is. So I'm just going to go with what we know at the moment, which is that Chilwell was picked up an injury. It doesn't look good, and it will be a minimum of 2 weeks. There are some accounts on Twitter at the moment saying it will be 2 to 4 weeks, and there are some saying that it looks like it's a full-blown ACL injury and up to 8 or 9 months. So I think what that tells us is no one has a clue. We need to wait for the scan. We need to wait for Tuchel's presser. However, I think even if he's out for only 3 or 4 weeks, I'm not sure that, I mean, I don't own Chilwell, so this is talking from a hypothetical standpoint. I'm not sure that I would just sit there holding him, waiting for him to come back. I think unless you've got like tons of money tied up, but even so, I think there is just such opportunity to jump elsewhere and do something else for your team. So you've got a few options if Chilwell is out for longer than 2 to 4 weeks, or if you just want to sell it, even if he's only out for 2 weeks, you might want to sell him anyway. So if you are selling Ben Chilwell, I'd say you've probably got 3 options, maybe 4. The first option is to just make a straight switch to Marcos Alonso, because it is very likely that in the absence of Ben Chilwell, Marcos Alonso will play most minutes at left wing back. In the Champions League, Tuchel did bring on Azpilicueta, but he did mention afterwards that that was because Azpilicueta was already about to come on for James, so he just brought Azpilicueta on anyway, or he was warming up to come on for James in the near future. So it sounds like that wasn't necessarily a tactical choice, and it was just the fact that Azpi came on. So straight switch to Alonso is one option. The second option, if you can get there, is to go to Reece James, because as you'll discuss in a minute, he's got the best stats in the Premier League for defenders, probably outside of Trent, maybe potentially even better than Trent's. So there's the option to go from Chilwell to James. The third option is to just get either Cancelo or Trent if you don't own either of those. Again, it is a bit of an upgrade in money, especially for Trent. But if you don't own Cancelo and you don't own Trent, getting one of them in would probably be my priority alongside James. And then the other option is that you just downgrade. The fourth option is you just downgrade that spot. You go a little bit cheaper in defence, which is what I did a couple of weeks ago when I went from Diaz to Emerson Royale, so that you can get a little bit funds up top. You can get the likes of Foden, Jota. You can get ready to bring Antonio back in. You can try and go for Son or Kane. So you've got lots of different options here. For me, as we'll discuss now, I think the priority should be James, Cancelo and Trent. I've been saying this for about 3 or 4 weeks now. I think they are the 3 best defenders in the league. They're continuing to prove that. They got 15, 12 and 12 points last week. So if you own Chilwell and you don't own one of those 3, and it's not going to require a massive amount of hits and restructuring to get them, I would try and get to James, Cancelo or Trent. However, if you're looking at your team now and you're thinking, I'm going to want Ronaldo in game week 16, I'd like Kane or Son now, I need to get Jota in for Saka or Mbomo, but I don't have the funds. And if you're looking and you would desperately need some funds in your attack and you feel like you've got enough money in your defence, I really don't mind a downgrade to the likes of Lamptey, or potentially to, there are so many, I'm thinking off the top of my head, Livramento if you don't already own him. Or you could just go all the way down. If you've got a strong other 2 subs, you could go all the way down to like a Omar or something like that and really put the money in your attack. You could even go down to it like a Reguilon or someone like that, because that's still a bit of a downgrade in money. So you've got lots of options there. What we're considering right now, though, is if you want to go to another Chelsea defender, do you go for Marcos Alonso or do you go for Reece James? I had a couple of people asked about Rudiger. Yes, Rudiger does carry a tiny bit of goal threat. And yes, he has scored, I think, twice this season already, potentially 3 times. I don't expect that to continue at that rate. His underlying stats are nowhere near as good as the likes of Alonso and James. So for me, if you own Chilwell and you want to go to another Chelsea defender, it should be Alonso or James. Just a quick glance at the fixtures. They're not great, but they're not terrible. United isn't a red fixture at the moment. West Ham, you could argue is a red fixture, but I would argue that's probably grey. And then the likes of Everton could potentially even be a green fixture. So looking at the next 6 weeks, they're really not that bad. From around game week 20 onwards, they do start to really toughen up a bit. But at that stage, after sort of 7, 8, 9 game weeks, you could then look to restructure once again. Looking at the underlying stats, they've actually both played a very similar amount of minutes, which is really nice to take a look at the sample size. Actually, before we jump in, I just want to say that whilst they've played the same amount of minutes, Reece James's have all come recently, whereas Alonso's came months ago. So Alonso is going to require a bit of time to find some fitness. Now, I'm not saying that he's a professional footballer, of course, and he looked really good at the start of the season after not playing many minutes before that. So I'm sure he'll do a good job, but I think immediately, if I've got someone that's in great form, performing really well, looking very fit in the form of Reece James, or Alonso, who performed quite well at the start of the season, I think that immediately does favour James. And as you can see, Reece James comes out on every single underlying statistics apart from projected points over the next 6 game weeks, in which case the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm massively prefers Alonso. Now, this is an interesting one because if you go onto FPL Review, which is another great website, they also prefer Marcos Alonso over the next 6 game weeks. It's very interesting because the underlying stats certainly favour James. Now, it might be that because with James, there's still a bit of competition, and maybe the algorithms have taken into account the fact that if Chilwell is injured, Alonso should have no competition at left wing back. So if that is the case, then that's fair enough. And in this case, Marcos Alonso is projected to get more points than Reece James over the next 6. However, like I said, everything else, there is no competition. Expected FPL points per 90 over the first 12 game weeks. Reece James has one of the highest in the Premier League at 8.89. Absolutely remarkable. Higher than Salah, higher than Trent, higher than all of those players. Marcos Alonso, 6.73, is still highly impressive. Expected FPL points per 90, but Reece James blows him out the water there. His non-penalty expected goals and expected assist is still 0.53, James. That is almost double Alonso's at 0.27. And let me say, Alonso's at 0.27 is really, really impressive. That's the same sort of expected goal involvement as Chilwell. So that is nothing to be frowned upon. And if you already own James, I should say, and you already own James and you've got Chilwell as well, the James and Alonso double up could be absolutely brilliant. And I'm tempted, but definitely tempted to bring in Alonso alongside James. But looking at that expected goal involvement, James is the clear winner. Big chances, again, almost double for James at 0.33 to Alonso 0.17. And touches in the box, almost double again. All of these stats are just lower. He's almost got double the expected output that Marcos Alonso has. Touches in the box at 4.93 for Reece James. As we'll discuss in the captaincy section, that's higher than the likes of Kane and Son. It's almost as high as Jamie Vardy. It's remarkable how involved James is getting in and around the box. 2.52 for Alonso, again, is pretty good for a fullback. That's similar to the likes of Cancelo and Trent. So what I guess I'm getting at here, again, if you look at the touch maps as well, it's the same sort of thing. What I'm getting at is that Alonso is absolutely brilliant. Those underlying stats are very, very good. They are well and truly worthy of 5.6 million. Reece James is just a different animal to anything we've ever seen in the Prem before. 0.53 expected goal involvement, and quite a bit of that is made through expected goals because Trent's is very, very similar to his expected goal involvement, but he's just got such high expected assists, whereas Trent carries a bit of goal threat, which is better for bonus. They get more points for goals as well. So really, you like that, a bit of a combination of expected assists and expected goals. For me, Reece James should be the top of your priority list alongside Trent and Cancelo. As I've said, those three need to be top of your priority list. They are putting up consistent numbers. The sample size is getting big enough for James now where we're just saying he is that good. Scored in the Champions League again. He just looks like he should be top of your priority list. But that being said, if you can't afford James and you want to go for Marcos Alonso, I really, really do like him. Those numbers are really good. And I think a Reece James and Marcos Alonso double up could be fantastic. Of course, this is all hinging on the fact that Chilwell was out for longer than a week or two. It does look like it's going to be serious. But obviously, at the time of recording this, if he's not out for very long, you've got a decision to make. I would say anything longer than 2 weeks, I would have Chilwell out. If it looks like it might be 1 week, pushing 2 weeks, you could potentially bench him if you've got someone strong to come on. But for a lot of people, you've got like a Brownhill and a Livramento, and in which case you might just have to bite the bullet, take him out, and then if you want to bring him back in the future, you can go about doing that. Reece James looks absolutely brilliant though. Now, I find this an incredibly interesting discussion that could really form the basis of an entire video. And maybe we'll discuss it psychologically at some point in the future. I know you guys have been giving me some Psychology 101 suggestions, and those videos will be coming back very soon when the busy period ends. But I just thought it was worth drawing your attention to because I'm getting a lot of questions about, I'm ranked at this rank, should I captain Salah? I'm ranked here, should I bring this player in? I'm ranked here, therefore, should I just ignore James and Chilwell and go for the likes of someone like a Reguilon because everyone already owns James? I personally, and I don't think this is necessarily right or wrong, I would say that 99% of the time, I will not let my rank affect the decision-making process. And this will make for a really interesting discussion down below, so do let me know your opinion on it. There are definitely times when I think you should make certain decisions based on your rank, but those almost always come at the end of the season. If you're 90k and you just want a top 100k and you're happy no matter what the case, you just want a top 100k, and there's only one player that's potentially harming your rank, and if you bring them in, you know there's basically no chance you can get a red arrow, then of course you should bring that player in. Equally, if you're in a mini league, forget rank for a second, if you're in a mini league and you're just above someone and you need to block them because you know that's their one player that they've got above you, then of course you can bring them in. Equally, if you're like 15k at the end of the season and you don't care if you finish 40k, or 12k, you just want to push for that top 10k, then of course bring in a differential because you know that the more points they score, that will be a bigger impact on your rank than a highly owned player scoring that many points. So there are times when you can really be tactical with your rank. My issue is that really we should be making decisions based on who's going to score the most points. It's such a simple thing to say. People say, should I captain this player for these reasons? Who do you think is going to score the most points? And it's not a patronizing thing to say. It's trying to simplify the decision-making process and realize that that should be it. When are you going to use your triple captain? Well, you're going to use it on the player in the game week where you think they will score the most points. Same with the bench boost. All of your decisions really should be made around who's going to score you the most points. All of that being said, what I just wanted to draw your attention to here, and this is me using livefpl.net, so it's a fantastic website. I'm sure most of you guys use it already, but it can give you your live rank during the game, and there's a lot of other good information on it. And one of the best pieces of information that I find is how far behind certain ranks I am and how far ahead I am. And it just shows you how tightly grouped everyone is together. So what I've done on the right with the text here is I've just said at certain ranks, how many points away are you from the top 10k? And then how many points would therefore you need to make up on the average for that week, or your safety score for that rank? How many points above that rank would you have to score each week to achieve a top 10k finish by the end of the season? So there's 26 game weeks left. So it's basically the difference between the two divided by 26. Of course, some of you guys will want to finish better than top 1k. Some of you think, I just want to finish top 500k. So you can adjust this based on your rank. It's just to give you a little bit of food for thought. So if you are currently ranked at 1 million and you want to finish in the top 10k, that is a 127 point difference. That is only 4.88 points per game week. That is the equivalent of one of your players getting a goal, or potentially one of your players getting a clean sheet every week. That's just one extra return a week. Now, that sounds like quite a lot when you think you need to get an extra return on top of everyone else every week. But if in 1 week, one of your differential scores a hat-trick, and then for the next few weeks they don't, that won't be an issue because you've got 3 returns on top. So it doesn't mean you literally need to score 5 more points every week. It means you need to average 5 points. All right? So that's pretty doable. To go from 1 million to top 10k, pretty doable. Which tells you then that even 2 million to top 10k is definitely possible. Because if you take a look, there are only, 26, 36, about 43 points between 2 million and 1 million. That's crazy, right? There's not even that much difference in the whole million managers between 2 million and 1 million. So the point I'm making here is that you can make up these points so quickly, but even if you don't and you're only making up an average of 4-5 points a week, you can still go from 1 million to top 10k by the end of the season. And obviously that becomes even easier if you're higher ranked than 1 million. I saw there was a tweet which was very controversial. I understood the sentiment behind it. Essentially, the general consensus of the tweet was, if you're ranked 500k, you might as well give up now. The season's over. You should start taking risks and not captaining Salah and not playing it safe, and you should try and be as differential as possible. I don't agree with that at all, because if you can see here, 500k is 95 points off the top 10k. And the top 10k is a serious finish, right? Not many managers are able to do that. Definitely not on a consistent basis. That's 3.65 points per game week. That's an extra assist per game week without bonus. If you think assists will often give you bonus as well, that's just a plain assist pretty much per week over the next 26 game weeks above the average that you need to achieve. As I said, if in 1 week one of your players scores 24 points like Mason Mount did a few weeks ago in game week 9, that's enough to massively boost you up. And then you're only like 60, 70 points off of that. So do it again for top 100k. You're only 43 points off. That is 1.65 points per game week. That's an extra clean sheet point for a midfielder and an appearance point for someone else. That's 1 less yellow card and a clean sheet point each week. That is nothing. That shows you don't need to be taking crazy risks. You just need to put your team out, a little bit of variance on your side, and you'll easily make those points up. Top 10k, by the way, if your 10k rank to number 1 is only 86 points. So I would say if you're still top 50k, you can win FPL. Absolutely. You would need a fair bit of luck on your side, and you'd need to make a lot of good decisions. But 3.3 points per game week is not a lot. It really isn't. So what I guess, as I said, I want to show you is just stop stressing about the rank. Even if you're 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, you can still get a seriously respectable finish. Top 3 million, top 4 million, even 5 million. If you start making some seriously good decisions, you can push for the top 500k, top 100k, absolutely. And as long as you're having fun with it and you're setting goals 1 step at a time, that's fine. I wouldn't set the goal of top 100k at top 1 million. I would say, right, the next goal is top 750k, then top 500k, then top 250k. And you can find these things out on the livefpl.net website. So you can go there and find these things out. So as you can see, I'm currently 20 points off the top 10k. That's really, really feasible. I could do that in 2 or 3 weeks. But as you can also see, I'm only 23 points above top 100k. So it could swing the other way as well. Swings and roundabouts, depending on the weeks you're having. So don't stress about your rank. Continue to make sound decisions. And I promise you, even if you've got a poor rank, you can definitely finish with a very respectable rank. Don't give up. Right. Time for a captaincy discussion. What's that? What's that? You just want to captain Salah? Yeah, me too. No, in all seriousness, I understand that a lot of people don't want to see this. So I released a captaincy video last week. It received about 1/3 of the views of my normal video. I understand this isn't a particularly riveting debate at the moment because people are just still captaining Salah every week, and I don't mind that at all. Still stick around for this section though, because we go through a lot of different interesting stats here about teams, about players, and at least you know, if you don't want to captain Salah in the future, what sort of players are performing well. So as always, the top box, or the top table, I should say, is my top 5 captaincy candidates for the coming week. And then the bottom table is the attacking stats from the team the player plays for and the defensive stats from the team they're playing against. So basically the fixture. And the color scheme is, if it's bright green, it means that they have the best stat of the options there. If it's sort of a more faded green, second. If it's further faded green, then it's third, fourth. And then if it's white, it's fifth, sixth, etc. So let's start then with the individual underlying statistics, which is that top table. As is the case most weeks, Salah does rank top in almost every underlying statistic here. The only one that he doesn't rank top in is expected assist per 90, which you can see is an absolutely filthy number from Trent. 0.47 expected assist per 90 for Trent. And I'll be honest, I've put Trent on this list because his expected goal involvement's even higher than Reece James. We discussed it in the Reece James section when we discussed his underlying statistics. Trent's expected goals is significantly lower than Reece James. It's almost half, or I think it's even less than half. But his expected assist is so impressive at 0.47. That puts his expected goal involvement at 0.58. So take assists away. Take clean sheets away, completely ignore the fact that Trent also has clean sheet potential. His expected goal involvement is significantly better than Son, Kane and Vardy. That's remarkable. He has a 0.58 expected goal involvement. Reece James has a higher expected goal involvement than Vardy, Kane and Son as well. So if you are looking for maverick captaincy choices and you're a bit bored of the same old Salah, Trent and James really need to be considered every week. I think Cancelo's a nice one because the clean sheet potential is so high with Man City, but his expected goal involvement just isn't as high as Trent and James at all. I think he just has such quality that he can pull assists and goals out of nowhere, Cancelo. So I think I would still prefer to captain Trent above Cancelo this week, and I'd probably even prefer to captain James above Cancelo as well. Outside of Salah and Trent, I would say probably Vardy is just about the standout option here, just because he's non-penalty expected goals is slightly higher than Son and Kane. And really, we do want our strikers to be scoring goals rather than getting assists. But you can see Vardy, Kane and Son, all of their expected goal involvements are very close. 0.44 for Vardy, 0.44 for Kane, so identical, and then 0.4 for Son. All three of those really aren't that impressive. The only reason they're on this list is because they've got historic data to suggest they are significantly better than this, and on their day they can perform very well. And as we'll discuss in the next bit, they've got really nice fixtures. Outside of Vardy, Kane and Son, I don't really see that many other options apart from potentially Reece James, but we've already looked at his stats, and I don't necessarily think Manchester United is the best fixture to target. And then you've just got absolute punts for teams that just aren't quite there at the moment. So for me, based on this top section, based on just the individual underlying data, it's Salah and Trent for me. And if you're looking outside Salah and Trent, I quite like probably Vardy here. Kane has actually overtaken Son with his underlying statistics. Son's been pretty poor since Conte's come in, and his stats have actually dropped below Kane's. So that would probably suggest to me that Kane's just about on top of Son at the moment if I was going to go for one over the other. It is worth noting, I haven't got Jota here and I haven't got Mane here, but Jota and Mane have better stats than Trent, Vardy, Kane and Son. So if you're looking to go for someone other than Salah and you own Jota or Mane, I really like those as well. But in my opinion, as I said, the way that I sometimes make captaincy and bench decisions is I try and predict the game. And if I'm predicting Liverpool to score quite a few goals, then I'm captaining Salah. So that's why I don't ever include Mane and Jota in these discussions, because whilst their stats are really good, if you're going to captain someone, you go Salah. You always do. Just because of how clinical he is. He's on penalties, and you know he's going to play 90 minutes in almost every game. He's played 1,080 minutes. He's played every single minute so far this season for Liverpool. So, yeah, underlying statistics. You didn't need me to tell you it, but it is Salah. But just keep an eye on Trent. Trent's currently got my Vice armband, and if you're feeling a little bit brave with your captaincy decision, I do quite like that. If you take a look at the bottom table, just next to me, it's very obvious. It's the same every week. It's going to take a couple of really poor performances for this to change. Liverpool are top. Every single week they've been top for attacking data. First for goals per 90. First for non-penalty expected goals per 90. First for shots in the box per 90 at 13.5. They're getting 13.5 shots in the box per 90 and 4 big chances per 90. No wonder Jota, Mane, Firmino and Salah have such incredible underlying statistics, because they're getting 4 big chances per 90 between them. Outside of that, Leicester and Spurs have been so bad. I almost couldn't make their stats green. I know it's because there's only 3 options. That's why it's green, because of the faded nature of the colours. But they're just really not great. You could argue that Leicester are sort of mid-table-ish for attacking data. 11th for goals per 90. 9th for non-penalty expected goals per 90, which is probably the best measure of how many chances they're getting. but they're 17th for shots in the box. That's where Vardy's going to score his shots from, inside the box. And if they're only getting 6.92 shots in the box per 90, that's probably not quite enough. And then they're 10th for big chances per 90. Spurs are still horrific. Even under Conte, their data's not been great, but it has improved slightly. They're 19th for goals per 90, 15th for non-penalty expected goals per 90, 19th for shots in the box, and 10th for big chances. So Leicester and Spurs are getting a few big chances per 90, but nothing compared to the likes of Liverpool. And once again, as I said in the past video, when I did my captaincy video, I'm just not seeing enough from anything here to go against Salah. Salah's underlying stats are so much better than everyone else's. Liverpool's underlying data is so much better than anyone else's. However, the reason that we're looking against Salah in these past few weeks is that the fixtures haven't been that great for Liverpool. And you can see straight away, Southampton are a top half of the table defence. 6th for goals conceded per 90, 1.21 expected goals conceded per 90, which is pretty decent. That puts them 9th. 7th for shots in the box per 90, and 8th for expected clean sheets per 90. So they're not in the bottom half of the table for any of the underlying defensive numbers, whereas Watford and Burnley are arguably both of them in the bottom 5 for almost every key metric from a defensive perspective. In particular, goals conceded per 90, they're both 13th. Expected goals conceded per 90, which again is probably the best measure of how bad a defence has been. They're 15th and 14th. Burnley and Watford are almost neck and neck in every single underlying statistic. The only thing that Watford are significantly better than Burnley in is they're conceding less shots in the box per 90. So Watford aren't letting a lot of shots inside their box happen. A lot of them are from outside the box, whereas Burnley are bottom. So that might look really good for Kane and Son, that Burnley are conceding the most shots per 90 inside the box so far this season. And then they're 17th and 18th respectively for expected clean sheets per 90. So fixtures-wise, Southampton is the worst of the three here, and you are targeting much more so Watford and Burnley. Watford and Southampton are home fixtures for Liverpool and Leicester, whereas Spurs are away at Burnley. They're at Turf Moor, so that might come into your thinking a little bit. You can see that squiggly white arrow, which I don't normally do. The reason I've put this here is if you're considering captaining Trent, I just wanted to just provide at least one statistic for you to show how Southampton have been from an attacking perspective. And you can see they actually rank 8th in the Premier League at 1.18 non-penalty expected goals per 90. So that might put you off slightly captaining Trent because the clean sheet potential is slightly lower there because Southampton have been really, really good from an attacking perspective. Liverpool are still a top 5 team from a defensive perspective, though, so the clean sheet potential is definitely there. And as we've just said, he has 0.58 non-penalty expected goal involvement per 90, so he doesn't even need the clean sheet. The fact that there is a potential for clean sheets there as well only boosts his appeal. So in combination, of course, Salah is the best captaincy option in my opinion. By far the best underlying stats, Liverpool are the best team, and the fixture, whilst it isn't ideal, Southampton are not a top 5, top 4 defensive side. They're sort of a Europa League side, you would say, from a defensive perspective. However, Vardy, Kane and Son are doing nothing to convince me they're great from an attacking perspective. Leicester and Spurs, do not have particularly great attacking stats. However, the Watford and Burnley fixtures are very, very tasty to attack. I think I would probably, if I had Son, Kane and Vardy, I'd probably lean towards captaining Vardy of the three, just because Leicester's stats are slightly better, and I would argue that Watford's stats are slightly worse, although that shots in the box conceded definitely makes me start to think Kane and Son could be great options this week. Let's now take a quick look at the touch maps, as you know I like to do, for the top 3 captaincy candidates. So just a quick glance at this. As always, Salah is the absolute GOAT. That is a ridiculous, ridiculous touch map. It's actually improving week on week, so I'll be interested to look at it from the early points of the season when we said it was already good. He's just coming more centrally with every game. Yes, he sticks to that right wing, but the amount of times he's cutting into that left foot, look at those touches in the box. Almost 10 touches in the box per 90 he's getting, which is remarkable. And it's becoming more and more central, as you can see. And I do wonder if that's just his natural tendency. The more goals he gets, the more he wants goals, and the more goal hungry he is. Or if that's a deliberate tactical tweak from Klopp to get him even more central this season. Whatever's happening, it's absolutely amazing. Outside of that, I just wanted to show you Jamie Vardy's and Harry Kane's, because they're very, very different. And you can almost see this when you watch them. Kane is getting involved a lot in the play. He's getting a lot more touches than Vardy, but they're very deep. He's dropping deep. Even under Conte, he is still dropping deep, whereas Jamie Vardy will not touch the ball unless it's inside the box, essentially, as you can see. From kickoffs and touching the box, that's pretty much it for Vardy. Interestingly, since Conte's come in, Kane's average position is actually deeper than it was under Nuno. So his average touches on the ball is deeper. However, when they don't have the ball, and when the ball is on the right or on the left, and they're not doing that sort of slow build-up play, Kane is getting into the box a lot more. So yes, he's touching the ball a lot where he's dropping deep spraying passes, but then he does get into the box and he's playing on the last man a lot more than he used to. And the only way you can tell that sort of thing, because he's not touching it, is through the eye test. And there have been a lot of great threads on Twitter which shows that Kane's positioning has actually been more advanced under Conte so far, but his average touch map, it just won't show it that way, because when he touches the ball, it's often when he drops deep, holds up play, sprays a few passes. The stats, whilst it is a very small sample size, he's a little bit less creative under Conte and he has slightly higher expected goals, which is what we want. We want him to be scoring more goals and assisting less, or at least scoring more and assisting more. So it completely depends what you're looking for in your captaincy. Jamie Vardy's going to probably get a couple of chances inside the box, and he tends to take them when he does. Harry Kane's going to potentially have an incredible game where he's spraying passes, scoring goals, but he's going to take a lot of touches a lot deeper. So if you're frustrated watching the game when your striker's dropping really deep, don't captain Kane. If you're frustrated watching the game when your striker's not getting many touches on the ball, don't captain Vardy. Either way, you probably shouldn't captain based on frustration, but it's very interesting to look at these. I'll be honest, I don't think there's any chance of captain anyone other than Salah this week. So another question I got was about predicting the next template. Someone that was new to FPL wanted to know, how do we know when the next template's coming? How can we get ahead of the curve? I'll be honest, there is no right or wrong answer to this. Often looking at the underlying statistics will tell you if a player is about to start to do well, or we think they might start to do well if they're underperforming their XG, etc. But with respect to actually guessing the new template, it is very, very difficult. That being said, I've got a sneaky suspicion that I might know what the next template is, and I'm not trying to say I can predict the future. Just looking at the way the game's been going, the way that the fixtures look coming up, certain players returning from injury, I've got a feeling that the new template will start around sort of game week 16, 17, 18, and it will be us wanting to jump back on those mid-price strikers. If you remember at the start of the season, we all wanted Watkins, Ings, Wilson, Calvert-Lewin, Bamford, Antonio. There were so many. We almost wanted 6 mid-price strikers. Even the likes of like Werner, Jesus, they're still sort of in that mid-price. We wanted all of them, and then loads of them started getting injured. Strikers stopped performing, and then we got to a stage where it was like, can we play 5-5? Which was only a couple of weeks ago. We don't want any. Even at the moment, I would probably be happy having no strikers. But that template won't continue forever. That isn't the templates don't continue like that. Otherwise, we would all just have the same team from game week 1 to game week 38. It would be incredibly boring. At some point, there will be a switch. It might be that this Chilwell injury is the thing that starts that. It might be that it just snowballs from there. We start taking some money out of our defence, and then with this nice fixture run coming up for these 3 strikers, we start to put some money back into our attack. So how would you approach that based on that? For me, I'm looking at this and thinking I will want at least one of the 3 guys on your screen from around game week 18 onwards. Therefore, I'm currently in a position where I only have Kane and then 2 cheap strikers in Tony and Armstrong. I'm starting to think, is there a way I can start to get a mid-price striker into my team? Also, if you already own 2 mid-price strikers, I'd be tempted to hang on to them. If you own like a Jimenez and Antonio, I don't see anyone else that you'd want to sell Antonio for at the moment, apart from potentially Jimenez. Even so, that's a very short-term punt. Wilson might be nice, but we've just seen he's on 4 bookings. You could potentially downgrade all the way, but if so, is there anyone that really interests you apart from potentially Benteke, but we know he can run hot and cold? I'd be tempted to just hold my mid-price strikers because Antonio himself has great fixtures. Norwich, Southampton, Watford, Palace, Leeds. They're such nice fixtures. Calvert-Lewin is predicted to be back on the 12th of December. So from around game week 19 onwards against Burnley, Newcastle, Brighton, Norwich, Calvert-Lewin's stats are so good when he plays. Even Watkins is starting to look really good for Norwich, Burnley, Leeds. I've got a feeling that mid-price strikers could be the new template. It's just a prediction. It's a bit of fun, I suppose, to just let you know what, in my head, I'm starting to prepare for. We can maybe come back to this video and you can laugh at me when none of the mid-price strikers are doing very well. Bamford and Calvert-Lewin get injured again. Antonio is starting to really struggle. But for me, I'm looking at this and thinking, I've got a suspicion it's going to be Ronaldo and then 2 mid-price strikers. And we're going to want to be taking some money out of our defence or out of our midfield, potentially. Let me know down below. What do you think the next template will be? Or do you think this premium defence 4-back Salah perma captain will be the template for the next 10, 15 game weeks? Do you think this is going to continue? I've got a suspicion that we're going to start to see a little bit of a struggle with clean sheets. And I've got a feeling those midfielders are going to start to struggle to perform. And then it's going to switch to the attack where we want to start bringing in these players. Who knows, though? That's the beauty of FPL, is that it's all a bit of fun. We can't predict the future. All we have to do is try and react as quickly as possible when the template does shift. I suppose building on from the discussion of a template, I got a really, really interesting sort of detailed question about, that again, someone new to FPL. What are the pros and cons or possibilities of just going for a triple of the 3 best teams in the league? Without a shadow of a doubt, from game week 1 to now, Chelsea, City, and Liverpool have demonstrated they are the best 3 teams in the league with individual data, with attacking team data, with defensive team data. They just look streets ahead of everyone in and around them. So I suppose the question you need to ask yourself is, do you expect that to continue? And if so, what is a triple-triple going to look like? Could you go for 3 Liverpool, 3 City, 3 Chelsea, and then just fill out the other 2 spots and then have a cheap bench? I think the answer is potentially yes. I built it and it looks really, really nice. So you can see on your screen a variation of that. Of course, you could go for Mount over Lukaku. You could drop Jesus to Bernardo Silva and then put someone else in attack. There are other ways you could do it. Of course, it would basically involve a premium defence of James, Trent, Cancelo and Alonso. You could potentially squeeze Diaz in there instead of Alonso and then use a Chelsea Chelsea midfielder, like a Havertz or a Mount. The midfield looks gorgeous. Jota, Foden, Salah, and then I've put Gallagher in there. But like I said, you could go for Bernardo Silva and then have another striker, potentially someone like Jamie Vardy. Potentially, no, you'd need less money. Someone like an Antonio or someone even like a Benteke you could put up top. And then I've got up top in this team, Jesus and Lukaku, which are 2 very, very different options there, but it does finish off this triple-triple idea. I'll be honest, I don't think I would go all out on the triple-triple like this. I think I do agree with the fact that Chelsea, City and Liverpool are the best team in the league. They've got some cheap players in there. Alonso at 5.6. James you can pick up for, I think he's 6.1 now, but I picked him up even cheaper. Even someone like a Bernardo Silva, very, very cheap. Foden's relatively cheap, considering Jota isn't that expensive. You can get a lot of these players and you can get a really, really good triple-triple. For me, I wonder if that's just being a little bit too passive in the game, because if I put a team together like this, I'm not sure I'd ever want to change any of it. And I think it was Late Rise that discussed this. He likes to have a few sort of short-term punts in there, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to make transfers. You don't just want a team that you never want to touch. And I've almost got to a stage a little bit like that with my team. So I would wonder, is it worth having that defence, having that midfield, but then using the other 2 spots, Lukaku and Jesus, to just be a little bit more creative with it? Go for Ronaldo and Antonio. And then once their fixtures dry up, then maybe you do go for a Lukaku, you go to a Kane, or then potentially you switch to like a Benteke. I wonder whether using 9 spots on players that you pretty much will never want to change is just a bit of a boring sort of zombie team way to approach the game. I think it would be a little bit more fun to maybe use 7 or 8 spots on those really, really good teams and then change around the other players. Anyway, very interesting question. Thank you. I can't remember who asked me on Twitter. It's a really interesting one. Let me know down below. Do you like this triple-triple? It actually does look very good. If you have better team value, you could even get in the likes of Livramento over Omobamidele, and in which case your bench would look good as well. I really like it. So before we finish off today, I just want to give a massive shout out to my favourite people in the world, the Raptor Hall of Fame, the legends that have decided to support the channel and support me. I appreciate it so much. If you're wondering who these people are, they are incredible people that have decided to support the channel and in return get some perks from me. So you will see sometimes there'll be a join button next to the subscribe button if you're on a laptop or desktop, or you can see the link in the description where it says if you want to become a member, click this link. If you do that, you'll pay a small monthly fee and in return you'll get some perks. So for Raptor 2 supporters, they get the badge next to their name that you can see next to their name, depending on how long they've been a member. For the normal Raptor badge, it's a new member. 1 month is green, 2 months is blue, 6 months is bronze, 12 months is silver, and then 2 years is gold. So they've got the badge next to their name based on how long they've been a member. They'll also get priority reply on the live streams when they eventually come back in, and they also get some custom emojis to their name. Raptor 1 members, of course, get a little bit more because they are paying more money. So they'll be followed by me on Twitter, individual DMs on Twitter if you ever want to run anything by me. Again, I never claim to be an elite manager, but it's nice to just bounce ideas off of people. And then probably the best part of being a Raptor 1 member is you're entered into our group chat, where there are what is it now, like 20, 30 of us in this group chat, chatting all day, every day about football, FPL, always running ideas past each other, catching up on the latest news. So if you're someone that wants to keep up to date with press conferences, injury updates, we've always got the latest news in that chat, and we're just chatting and helping each other. And there are some incredible ranks. I think I'm 7th or 8th in that league, and I'm ranked 33k, which just shows you how good the Raptor members are. And of course, I'm going to take full credit for that. No, of course not, but brilliant. And we're all helping each other, and our ranks continue to increase. So if you want to get involved in that, don't feel like you have to. There is no obligation to do so. The content will always be free coming from me. But if you want to support the channel, and you also want some perks in return, you can become a Raptor 2 supporter or a Raptor 1 supporter. I appreciate either way, and even if you're just watching, I appreciate you too. But I just wanted to give a massive shout out to all of the guys on this list here. I appreciate you so much. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 13 preview. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you're still watching now, let me know down below that you're one of the guys that watches the entire video right till the very end, because I appreciate you so very much. And you guys know I talk about the algorithm gods all the time. Liking, commenting, and watching the entire video is what helps to push me to other people. So if you're someone that does like, comment, and watch the entire video, I appreciate you very much. You are the best. As I said, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So if you're someone that is new to this channel and you've not yet subscribed, create a YouTube account, subscribe, and it will help me massively. And hopefully we'll hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And if not, we'll do a damn good job of trying to do so. Thank you so much for watching. As I said, I appreciate it very much. I don't think there'll be a live stream this week. I'm still really struggling with my internet, but they are sending me new equipment to try and test, to try and improve. So don't think that I'm slacking. I love streaming. I want to get back on it, but I'm just having to do a few things first. Hopefully we'll be ready for the really busy period when there are games like 3 games a week and there are midweek games. Being able to stream will be massive then. So I'm trying to get onto that. I'll let you know, guys, know how it goes. But thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic Game Week 13, and I'll catch you soon. Bye-bye.